and tested, etc. Well, I can tell you that the demography which we try to satisfy, and these are the very astute, maven, sophisticated demography of 12 years old kids who know better than us. They want the satisfaction immediately, and about the quality, they will use something else in another 2 months. So the quality in their mind is defined in another way. I would like to suggest, when you are talking about exploring uncharted dimension, that there is a very strong trade-off today between engineering and user experience. When I created my first software company in 1969, which is almost 40 years ago, which show you that how old I am, and when we wrote software, I was one of the founders of a company called Tecem, which is today or was the largest part of NES. And we looked on software as an engineering profession. Today, if you go and look on what you see on the internet today, the software is not the end to itself anymore. The software became the substrate on which the internet artist or the internet genius express his talent. Like Spielberg is expressing his talent on celluloid or digital data for movies, and a writer expressed his talent on pulp, a book writer, and Michelangelo expressed his talent on stone and on wall. Today, the young internet geniuses are expressing their genius on software. Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and the guys who created ICQ were able to pull the huge number of users that they pulled, not because they had terrific software. Yes, the software has to scale up, and the software has to serve millions and millions and millions of people and hundreds of thousands simultaneous users, etc. But the thing which really draw the user is the user experience. And the user experience is coming from the opposite side of the brain. So I would like to suggest, if I may, definitely quality, as you can understand, is not my profession, but when you are talking about exploring uncharted dimensions, I suggest to try and look to the relation between the right part of the brain and the left part of the brain, and to see the connection also in the quality, because otherwise we may reach the famous situation where in the right side of the brain, nothing is left, and in the left side of the brain, nothing is right. So this is a side comment to the issue of quality. Another dimension of the community here is the adherence to the cause. We have in this country, we have a very high level of commitment to the cause. Everybody who is working is trying to find a deeper meaning to what he's doing, to his company, to the mission of the company, to the product, etc. You see here a very high level of engagement. Again, this comes from the ethos of this society and our history for the last 120 years in this place and 2,000 years in other places. We have to adhere to the cause. We are being brought up by adhering to the cause. Everybody is mobilized. We always mobilize. You run a company, you are not running a company, you are running a campaign. You are running a division. You are running a little fighting troop to conquer a place in the world market. Again, as I say, the technology, we have good technology, no doubt about it, but you have good technology in countries like Germany, Japan, France, UK, and yet you see here something which is very special and very different. Another dimension of this little society here is the willing to take risk. Different societies approach risk in different ways. In Europe, failing is embarrassment. Failing is embarrassment. In Japan, until World War II, and maybe a little bit after, failing was treated by eliminating the gene pool of the failure from the total gene pool of the society. In Israel, you fail, okay, that's okay, we will try again. Of this huge pool of entrepreneurs that we have here. People are not afraid to fail. It's not a big honor to fail, but also it's not disastrous. This is a very important part. And I would like to draw your attention to the wonderful speech of Theodore Roosevelt of 1910, The Man in the Arena. Theodore Roosevelt, which was, I think, one of the greatest presidents of the United States, definitely the most colorful one, or one of the most colorful ones, terrific man. We owe him the whole concept of national park, which he started in the United States and then was propagated over the world. He got the Nobel Prize in 1910. He went to Sweden. He made a stopover in Paris. And he gave a famous, you are trying to blind me. And he gave a very famous speech in the Sorbonne, The Man in the Arena. And I am not so talented to quote it by heart, and I suggest everybody to go to Google and search for The Man in the Arena. But nevertheless, what he said is that the recognition should go to the people who are going into the arena and trying whether they get, they achieve victory, or even if they are failing and lying on the ground smeared with mud and blood and dust, because either they experience the joy of a great triumph or the thrill of trying to accomplish something big, and not to the people who are sitting around the arena with frozen faces. And this is one of the virtues which should be celebrated and recognized. And people who are trying are accomplishing. People who are not trying are not accomplishing. Another thing which I would like to mention, that the thing we learn in the army. In the Israeli army, we learn some things which are not necessarily has to do with fighting. When I went to the United States for the first time, I saw this motivational, they have this industry of motivational plaques. You see these big posters which have to motivate the people, and one of the posters is advocating teamwork. Teamwork is something which is being advocated, and when I saw it first, I asked myself why they have advocated teamwork. Usually you advocate something which you don't have, I guess. You don't have to advocate something that you have. I didn't see any posters advocating, let's say, breathing or going to the toilet. But I saw lots of posters advocating teamwork. In Israel, we have this formative ritual. You may know few rituals, religious rituals in this country. One is the circumcision, when you separate the male human being to two parts, a small part and a big part, and usually the big part is growing. Sometimes you see that the small part is taking over, but this relates to a different